Hi everyone, in today's video I'm setting up my 2022 bullet journal. The notebook that I'm using is the Suginara notebook from Notebook Therapy, which I will leave in the description box if you're interested. I'm going for a minimalistic neutral theme, and the cover page just says Welcome 22 with a cursive font, and my quote page has the quote, "Always be a first-rate version of yourself instead of a second-rate version of somebody else." And I highlighted the 2022 using the Tombow Duo brush pen 942, which is the only marker that I use in the setup primarily, except for this grid spacing page, which is incredibly helpful when setting up weekly spreads, or really any spreads, and I did go back to it a number of times when setting up my bullet journal. I did this last year and it was really helpful, and I got this idea from Amanda Rachel, but I've also seen a bunch of other creators do as well. So I separated it into divisions that I use most commonly, which are twos, or halves, thirds, and fourths. But then I also did sevenths, which I kind of messed up with the spacing, but it's fine. I don't use the sevenths that much. I am using the skin tone pack of Tombow Duo brush pens and a Crayola Super Tip to make the divisions. And so how a grid spacing sheet works is you basically number the amount of spaces in the page. I've also seen people do a fold out and like pop-ups, but this one works fine for me and my uses. So I just numbered how much each division was. And then I wrote grid spacing using the same cursive and lowercase spaced out font. This will be my index. I don't use an index often, so I didn't leave too much space for it. I plan just putting the yearly pages and then the monthly setup pages, such as like January on like the 30th page, February on the 40th, whatever. So this is my future log, and I did mess up a number of times on the future log. So my first mistake was the stamping of February, because February has 28 days and I did plan on that. So I covered it up with washi tape, and unfortunately it didn't show here, but I covered it up with washi tape and then I stamped it on with the washi tape on. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but I did do it in some of the other months. So it's a minor mistake, and I put white gel pen over it, but it just bothered me a little too much, so I glued the two pages together. My next mistake was counting or using the wrong calendar, and it skipped a lot because my phone died. But basically what I did was I had used the 2021 calendar instead of 2022, so that ruined things, and I didn't want to glue it back together, so I just made it a Monday start, which is common anyway, so it's not a huge deal. Okay, so these two pages are for my school. So this is my second trimester events, which will hold things that are school related for that trimester. And over here I just divided it into 3 sections. Each one is 11 dot grid spaces high, and the title takes up 5 dot grids. And then I just repeated the same thing for the third trimester events. So I don't know, calendar stamps are just not for me. I mean, I do believe it's better than having to write down all of the calendars by hand, but I just had a bad time with it, so. I was trying to figure out how I was going to cover it up, so I ended up stamping it on a blank index card, and I ripped out some craft paper to use as a backdrop, and I think that it turned out pretty cute the way that it did turn out. So I wrote the titles using a cursive font and bubble cut it out and glued it on that piece of craft paper. Anyway, so the second trimester events will host all of the projects, tests, quizzes, whatever that are specifically school related, and it acts as a future log basically, but a school version, and I did a horizontal layout for this. I mean, I'm not sure why. I could have done a vertical layout, I suppose, but just to switch it up. The tape that I'm using is from Amazon, and all the supplies that I use will be linked in the description if you are interested in any of them. I think that this was a good way to cover it up instead of gluing the pages together again or just taking a piece of paper, and I actually like it. I think it gives a little bit of variety and a scrapbooky feel to it, which I do like, and I did a scrapbook theme for my reading journal. I just glued the calendars down, and then this one I messed up. There wasn't enough room for me to put the calendar, the days of the week, and the month header on, so I just got a new piece and repeated the same procedure. I didn't film the third trimester events because it's essentially the same thing, but yeah. And then I messed up on that one too. It wasn't wide enough, so it didn't cover up the calendar and the tape that was left over there. So I got a new piece of craft paper, and my index card ripped, so it was too thin, so I had to make a new one. Yeah, the future log and the second trimester events was just not a fun place. And then over here I miscounted. For some reason, I had thought that each space would be given 7, but no, it's 9. So the test is a little off-centered, but then I didn't want to change it since I already got it down for the first one, so I just repeated that same thing with the third trimester. And then for the third trimester events, I put the calendars on the right side of the page, and then the test, quizzes, projects on the left side of the page. So this is for my second and third trimester grades. So this will host my total grades for each and what the individual grades for each section were, if that makes sense. So I just wrote it down using that spaced out font and then used my Tombow brush pen. And then in these little picture frame things, we'll have my letter grade, and underneath we'll have my percentage grade. And then all the space on the left side will be each thing for each section. So I just repeated the same thing that I did for second trimester onto the third trimester. And speaking more on the grade thing, I did the same thing for the first trimester, but I had included that in my November wrap-up, and I thought it'd just be nice to have it side by side so I can kind of see the comparison. Each individual section will depend on the grade on Aries. So for example, a grade for assessments, classwork, or whatever unit, basically however the divisions are. Okay, so this spread is my period tracker, and on the left is my less completed. These have all the important things that I need to do, like changing my sheets, replacing contact solution, etc. And then the period tracker was a little bit of a painful and very tedious task. Drawing 365 dots, which I guess isn't terrible. It's better than drawing out all the numbers and stuff. But I had to switch pens because it wasn't working and it made too thin of a dot. So I switched to the 03 micron, which worked a little bit better. If I were to do it again, I probably would have used the 05 or 08 micron. But I like how simple it is. And basically how it'll work is I'll color in each dot. And then on the bottom I wrote the month's initials. And then on the right I kind of messed up on the numbers. But it's okay. I fixed it when it wasn't too late, I think. I fixed it on the 5th day. And so for last completed, last year I drew an icon for each task. Like for changing my toothbrush, I drew a toothbrush. And for changing my sheets, I drew a bed. But this time I wanted to just list it and made things a little bit less confusing. I mean, when I had done it last year, I only had like 3 things on my last completed, so I was able to keep track. But if I wanted to add more things, I wanted to be able to easily have that. And then I messed up on the line counting. There are a lot of mistakes in this bullet journal, but mistakes are kind of inevitable, so it's fine. So the things that I included on my last completed are change sheets, change toothbrush, contact solution, I believe contact case, and I drew a line that was 3 spaces wide, doctored spaces wide. And each of the lines that I drew were how often it was recommended to change it. So for sheets, I did 28 times. I was going to put 56, but I just didn't want to put 56 lines. And since I am going to be changing bullet journals for the second half of the year, I think it's going to be fine. So this is my completed bullet journal for 2022 setup. And I really love how it turned out, despite all the minor imperfections. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I really like the simplicity, and I'm glad that I decided to put all more functional pages in my bullet journal. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!